In November of 2018, Wargaming released the West Virginia as a Tier 6 premium ship. Being a Pearl Harbor battleship and a Tier 6 battleship with 16-inch guns, West Virginia was quite popular. But what was even more popular was the idea of her in her post-Pearl Harbor refit being added to the game, which Wargaming promised would happen after her release. Well, as the years went by, it seemed that the idea of adding in a post-Pearl Harbor West Virginia was completely forgotten about by Wargaming, until we finally were given an update about her in late 2022. With a devlog following thereafter in March of 2023, West Virginia 44 in all of her modernized glory was finally released in June of 2023, and was generally well received. But something rather odd happened. After being on sale for a short time for the Independence Day event that year, West Virginia 44 disappeared from the shop and the in-game armory event that she could be obtained in. So, if you were not one of the players that grabbed her during the 4th of July event, you could not obtain a West Virginia 44. It wasn't until the Wisconsin dockyard that the West Virginia 44 would return to the game, a little over 6 months later. It seems odd that Wargaming would release such a hyped-up ship in such a limited time window. The North American player base has been waiting for literally years for the ship, and it just disappeared without seemingly any warning. But what many thought was an oddity soon became the norm for Wargaming and premium ship releases. Following the West Virginia 44's release, this exact same scenario happened time and time again, with the Shield, the Carl XIV Johann, the Tsurugi, the Colossus, the Navarin, the Rhode Island, and most recently the Wiesbaden. All of these ships had something in common, besides being removed. They were only available as part of some type of in-game sequential bundle, or container event, or random bundle event. Occasionally, they would be offered in the premium shop in an Admiral pack, which is the most expensive bundle you can buy. You typically add about $50 on top of the normal purchase price of the ship, and that's how much those packs buy. But they all would be available for a limited time and then disappear. At the time of recording, in fact, only the Tsurugi has been put up for sale again, but even then, she was only available for 4 days before being removed. Now, Wargaming has removed premiums from sale before, usually when they are too popular, which is Wargaming code for overpowered. Ships like the Thunderer, Georgia, Julius Caesar, so forth and so on. But this is hardly the case for the ships we've been talking about. Most of the recently released premiums were average at best, with a couple standing out above the crowd like the Carl XIV and of course the Rhode Island being the strongest of the lot. The other major exception would be the Colossus, with its AP rockets that could citadel and murder high-tier cruisers in, well, one shot. But then those were quickly nerfed. So, what exactly is the deal going on here? Why is Wargaming wasting thousands of man-hours designing, modeling, and testing these ships just to only sell them for a few weeks? Well, it seems that Wargaming is embracing the latest hot free-to-play money-making tactic: fear of missing out. You see, to you and I, it would seem that the best strategy of making money off of a product would be to, well, have it available to as wide of a customer base as possible, right? By making the product accessible to a huge customer base, you'll make the most money. That's why so many companies try to get their products on sites like Amazon. It's online, so many people use it, it's up 24/7, so if you can get your product on Amazon, you're more likely to sell more products on there than you would off of your own website or selling them out of a brick and mortar store. I don't know if that example makes sense to you, but it does to me. Anyway, fear of missing out is kind of the opposite of that. So, fear of missing out, or FOMO, works by having something available for a limited amount of time before removing it. Either it's only on sale for a very limited amount of time, or you can only get it in a very particular manner. Again, kind of the opposite of having it available to as many people for as long as possible. By doing this, you instill a fear in the customer that if I don't get this right now, I'm not going to be able to get it in the future. So they'll rush out and buy it immediately instead of waiting and picking it up down the line. If you're a gun guy, Gun shows are full of people trying to pawn off these old military surplus rifles that they got for like $100 or $200 as $700, $800, $900, $1,000 rifles because they are super rare this, super rare that. Kind of the same thing, and like, they only made so many of these, so you better buy this now rather than later because I won't have it later. You're going to miss out on this super rare item. So again, they'll rush out and buy it immediately instead of waiting and picking it up down the line. Now, Wargaming is hardly the first company to partake in FOMO tactics, especially in the free-to-play space, but they are certainly pushing them quite hard. It seems to have started with the early access events for new tech trees. The earliest one I can remember being the French battleship line that I partook in. Back then, you could earn containers that had some of the new ships that were done and out of development in them, typically like the Tier 4 to the Tier 7. While some of the higher tier ships, usually the Tier 9 and the Tier 10, were still undergoing some final testing and balancing. These old early access events usually took place the update before the new line came out. Keep in mind too that patch cycles back then were only 4 weeks instead of 5 weeks like they are now. But now they've stretched these events out for 2 whole patch cycles, 10 weeks, and the entire line is usually included in the event in some way, shape, or form. Usually quite expensive if you want to get the Tier 9 or the Tier 10 in early access. Sure, players could, and many do, just wait out these early access events and research these new tech lines the traditional way upon release. But some pay their way through these early access events in order to get these ships as fast as possible, which it's your money, and if you want to do that to get early access, go ahead. It's the whole point of the event, and it pays the bills for Wargaming. But what I think has happened is that Wargaming got a taste of that early access money. Hence why they have stretched these tech line early access events out to 10 weeks now. The longer you make players wait, the more likely they're going to want to pay money to get access to that shiny new tech tree ship. But they want more. So now it seems that they've taken a similar approach to premium ships, where unless you take part in their random or sequential bundle event, or fork over a staggering $100 plus for an Admiral pack, you're not getting the latest and greatest premium ship, and you gotta do it now because it's leaving in a few weeks, and you won't see it again for another at least 6 months, where it will then only be available for 4 days, like the Sarugi. So if you didn't get it in that first go-round, you better rush out and get it ASAP. This is of course quite frustrating for a few reasons. First off, preying on people's emotions like that is a pretty scummy move. Second off, World of Warships is surprisingly, up until recently, a relatively pretty chill game when it comes to monetization. If you take a look around the free-to-play genre, a good amount of games are way more aggressive when it comes to their monetization schemes. Hell, just look at World of Tanks for an example. We have a pretty good thing here, and I don't want that to go away. But there is, perhaps, a light at the end of the tunnel. Most recently, with the Wisconsin dockyard, the West Virginia 44 did show back up as a completely free, mid-grind premium ship, where if you worked your way through the Wisconsin dockyard around the halfway point, you got the West Virginia 44 completely for free, and if you did pick it up back in the Independence Day event, you got, I believe it was 3 free dockyard stages out of the dockyard, which was enough to finish the dockyard without spending a single penny on the Wisconsin, and now you get a Tier 10 premium battleship completely for free. So that was pretty good. And then, with the D-Day anniversary event, the most recent event in game, the Rodney, highly anticipated Nelson-class premium battleship, the Orion 44, and the Montcalm were all released like normal premiums. You could gamble for them if you wanted to, but if you didn't want to, you could also just buy them outright in the premium shop like the days of old. Will they still be around after the event ends? I'm not totally sure. There's no timer on them in the premium shop like there was with the Sarugi when she showed back up, so hopefully this is the case. Either way, Wargaming, the FOMO tactics are quite tiresome. You and I both know that no matter what, players will buy new ships almost immediately, no matter what. If you want to see what I'm talking about, just log into the game a few hours after the next patch goes live or after the next premium ship drops, and at whatever tier that premium ship was released at, you go there, you'll probably run into 4 or 5 of them right off the bat. So, yeah. Do you really need to be trying to squeeze this much money out of the player base? Keep in mind, last few days ago, I believe last week, we discussed the new player situation where they've already increased the grind for new players to the point to where, unless you really know what you're doing, it's super difficult to get to that tier 10 in a reasonable amount of time just grinding up the tech trees without dropping some money on the game. So is it really worth trying to squeeze this much money out of the player base at the cost of teasing the players with ships they've been waiting for, in some cases for years? I don't think so. Like, yeah, it's a company, they need to make money, they need to keep the servers up, but again, there's plenty of players that spend tons of money on this game regardless of whatever goes on. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about their new tactic. Just share your thoughts with us. I thank you for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.